Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Trevor and welcome to a video tutorial on how I make low-grade fuel in Rust. So this is going to be about fish traps. Now I'm sure everyone knows that you get animal fat from trout. So these fish traps, if I can find an example here we go. I don't know why I have wood in there. You can get either minnows or small trout. You can get 1 or 2 small trout. When you gut this, you can see you get animal fat, 8 animal fat. You get some bones and some raw fish as well from that. So the idea here is that you set up a bunch of traps, build a base around it, and farm them. I like this because if I'm not in the mood to run around and go crazy hardcore PvP mode and always have my head on swivel and stuff, if I just want to chill, watch some Netflix, listen to some music, talk to people, whatever, or even just like be AFK doing something else, I can run the fish traps and tab out and do whatever. So the basic idea is you start a timer. If you really want to min-max this, fish spawn about every 3 minutes or so. They get caught every 3 minutes or so. So you start a timer for about 3.5 minutes to 3 minutes 45 seconds, and you start your run. So it doesn't matter how many fish traps you have. You could have 2, you could have this many. You start it, so you drop the minnows. And actually, there's a couple of different mechanics I need to talk about here, but you drop the minnows, and you continue on your way. You do the whole run, and then when the timer goes off, you're ready to go again. So basically, here, let's talk about some of these mechanics. So some really good to know stuff. If you use raw fish, if you have less than 10, I don't know if you guys notice over here, but I only got minnows on the left side here. I need to give it time to get caught as well. But you only get minnows. You can't get trout if you have less than 10 raw fish in a trap. So that's why you need to have over 10, or you need to cook it. If you cook the trout, I guess it's just called raw fish really, but if you cook it, you can use any amount and get trout. So you could have like just a couple of cooked fish in there and get trout from it. So I highly recommend you cook it. Another interesting thing about the differences between cooked and uncooked, if I have, if I want to stack my traps so I don't have to continually refill them, once this gets a catch here, it's going to take 1 bait from each of these slots, from 3 slots. You could even fill up this much. It would take three bait out of here. I'm not sure with other meat types how it works, but I do know that if I instead had cooked fish in here, it would only take 1 cooked fish away. I'm not sure why, but that's just how it is. I tested it myself many times, and that's just how it is. So this means that cooking your fish is just very advantageous. So let's run down here. You can see we got some minnows there. We got some trout there. Minnows. This is what like a typical run looks like. You kind of look back and forth between the traps, and you just empty them, drop the minnows, pick up the trout, move on. Of course, I've been running this off before I was recording, so not everything is full, but I mean, look at that. See, look at all that trout. Please don't get stuck. It really adds up very quickly. So let's talk about some numbers. This is actually incredibly lucrative for your time spent. So you can see that's 100 right there, and I didn't even do a full run. Do a couple of these runs and you'll have 1K animal fat, no problem. So this base right here, if you had this on a live server, this would probably be, I think, at least 7,000 low-grade fuel per hour, which is a lot, right? So let's do some math. A quarry uses 400 low-grade fuel per hour. So if I was getting 7,000 low-grade fuel per hour, I would be getting enough low-grade fuel from farming this to run 17.5 quarries. So we'll say 17 quarries. Now this of course assumes you don't have other bottlenecks. I would highly recommend you attach a hemp farm to your fish base, or at least have some form of influx on hemp to be able to keep up with processing the low-grade fuel and to keep up with repairing the traps, because the traps require wood and cloth to be repaired. And it's not a high amount of cloth, but it's a very high amount of wood. This thing would take an incredible amount of wood to upkeep, so you do need to be chopping wood often to keep this going. So the barbecue was added today. I was testing out cooking with the barbecue, and the fish still doesn't burn in the barbecue, which is really nice. Now, it does eventually get consumed, so this right here will eventually, like, the number will go down. You won't see it because it'll be this fish will be continually adding to this stack, but this will get, do you see that? It just went down to 18 for a second. So I'm not sure if that's a bug or if that's intended, but it looks like you want to be pulling your fish out of this barbecue when it's cooking. And I think that's really, well, let me really quickly kind of go over a more basic setup. So I usually would look for any shallow area. You can see it along the coast here. If you're building a large base, then probably a larger shallow area. And you just build a single trap and run around to kind of see where you can and can't place it, just to get an idea of how you should build your base. And you have two options. You can place the traps first and then build a base around it, like just place some foundations up, put them around there and slap them down. Or you can find an area where you're pretty confident you can place traps in there and put up foundations around that. And then after that, nope, too close. And then after that, place down your traps. So the cool thing about placing them after is you can actually kind of sneak them into the foundation a little bit there. And this essentially allows you to place a couple more than you normally would be able to. So little useful tidbit there. Also not sure if this is intended or not, but it's been like this for a long time. So yeah, I mean, you really don't need anything this size. This is complete overkill. I've never actually done anything this big on a live server. On a live server, I think the most I've had is like 30 traps or so. 30, 35 traps. And that's more than enough. I mean, if you just want 2 quarries, something this size would be enough right here. Would be plenty. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps anyone who wants to have a more chill way of farming. I know I don't always like going out and PvPing, so I do enjoy this. It's a little more laid back. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time.